Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to our videos. We are from 8th group from language assessment course, which is consists me, Muhammad Faras Ramadan, as moderator and presenter, and my partner Fezra Ilmanov as a presenter, and my partner Novia Saptorini as a presenter. In this occasion, we will going to discuss about assessing speaking online. In assessing speaking online, there are some topic will be discussed. The first one is definition of speaking online assessment. The second is basic type of speaking. The third is micro and macro of speaking. And the fourth is designing assessment tasks. The first one is the definition of speaking online assessment. Assessment itself is the process of gathering and discussing information from multiple and diverse sources in order to develop deep understanding of what students know, understand, and can do with their knowledge as a result of their educational experience, such as the process of culminates when assessment results are to used and to improve subsequent learning. So speaking online assessment is a speaking assessment that is conducted online or available on website or maybe application that use the internet connection such as Google Classroom or quizzes or even maybe Kahoot that can also be uh, for online speaking assessment. And there are basic type of speaking according to Brown 2004, which state that there are certain basic categories of speaking in the following taxonomy, and the assessment differs in some models according on the learner competence, uh, like imitative, intensive, responsive, interactive, and extensive or monologue. Principle of speaking online assessment is like practically validity, reliability, and authenticity. When we assessing speaking, there are a variety of tasks to choose from ranging from the simple to complex. Some of the tasks that teacher typically choose while assessing speaking in the classroom is like interview, picture cue tasks, refreshing, role play, games, oral presentation, and also debate. The next is micro and macro skill of speaking, which will be presented by my partner, Fezrafa Ilmanov. Fezrafa, time is yours.
Right. Alright. Good time. So here we have micro and macro skills according to Brown. The first word as is or language. Yeah. So for word
Fezrafa, I'm sorry, your voice is not clear.
we say okay my mic. Hold on. How is it now?
Still not clear. Can you move to the, what is it? The better connection? Can you?
Actually I am right in front of the Wi-Fi right now. To be
Yeah.
honest, like right in front of it.
Okay. 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 Try to go on.
Yes. Right. So I was like But, oh yeah, small pieces of languages such as phoneme, morpheme, word, pictures, and mathematics, of
I'm sorry, the voice is unclear.
Oh, I already spoke out loud. How?
Still unclear.
Right. Yeah. Now,
Okay, go on.
all right. All right. So, as I was saying, the micro skills suggest that the speaker concentrates on the bigger picture, such as fluency, discourses, function, style, cohesiveness, and nonverbal communications, also strategic possibilities. Moving on to the next slide. Now, Brown mentioned that micro skills is in speaking as follows. First, it produces language chunks of various length. Two, differences in English pronunciation and allophonic varieties are produced orally. It also produces stressed patterns in English, including stressed and unstressed words, rhythmic structure, information counters, and so on. Third one is to produce a reduced words and a phrased forms. We have the fourth here to achieve the pragmatic purpose, a sufficient member, which is a sufficient member of lexical units or words that is being used. Next is produce a natural sounding speech at various levels. Next one, monitor the speech and utilize a variety of strategic devices to improve the clarity of the message, such as pauses, fillers, self-corrections, and backtracking. Next is the usage of grammatical words, also known as word, you can call it nouns, verb, etc., in the class, as well as systems such as tense, agreements, pluralizations, language patterns, rules, and elliptical forms. Next is to make a more natural sound in the appropriate phrases, pause groups, breath groups, and sentences. And we have the next one, which is to use a diverse grammatical forms to express certain ideas. Last but not least is to spoken communication using cohesive devices. Next slide, please. Now, we have the micro skills of speaking. According to Brown, um, Brown mentioned the micro skills in speaking as follows. First of all, to carry out suitable communicative functions in light of circumstances, participants, and objectives. Next is in a face-to-face talks. Suitable registers an implicative one, of course, pragmatic conventions, and other sociolinguistics elements. Next, to communicate core ideas, supporting notions, fresh informations, as well as generalization of information and exemplifications by establishing ties and connections between occurrences. Next is to express meanings. In other words, using facial gestures, features, kinetics, which is about the language, and other nonverbal indicators in addition to verbal language. And lastly, we have to develop and practice a variety of speaking techniques, such as emphasizing keywords, rephrasing to provide context forward interpretation, requesting assistance, and accurately measuring how well your interlocutors understands you. Moving on to the next slide is designing the assessment tasks. These are the several design tasks in assessing online speaking. There are imitative speaking, one, two, intensive speaking, three, responsive speaking, four, interactive speaking, and five, extensive speaking. All right, these parts will be explained by Ms. Saptorini. Go ahead, Ms. Saptorini, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Rafa. The next material is imitative speaking. As Farah said, the imitative is the ability to just parrot back or imitate a word, phrase, or maybe a sentence at one end of a continuum of sort of speaking performance. Learners just repeat a given word, phrase, or sentence back to them, despite the fact that this is a basic phonetic level of oral production. The performance requirement may include prosodic, lexical, and grammatical features of language. Next slide, please. And the next slide is about intensive speaking. The production of short length of oral language aim to indicate proficiency in a restricted band of a grammatical, phrasal, lexical, or phonological links is a second type of speaking that is widely used in assessment context. As you can see in this slide, we provide the example of directed response task and paraphrasing. You can read it by yourself. The first one is directed response task. In the directed response task, the test administrator elicits a certain grammatical form or transformation of a sentence in this type of exercise. Although such tasks are unquestionably mechanical and not communicative, they nevertheless necessitate limited meaning processing in order to create the acceptable grammatical output. And the second one is read aloud task. Reading aloud tasks include reading beyond the sentence level up to a paragraph or two. This technique is easily administered by selecting a passage that incorporates test spec and by recording the test taker's output. And the scoring is relatively easy because all of the test taker's oral production is controlled. Next slide, please. You can see in this slide is the example of sentence or dialogue completion task and oral questionnaires and picture cue task. Uh, the third is sentence or dialogue completion task and oral questionnaire. In this method, test taker read dialogue in which one speaker line have been committed. Test takers are given time to go through the dialogue to gain a sense of what's going on and to come up with acceptable lines to fill in. The test taker then responds as the teacher or test supervisor produce one segment orally. And the fourth is picture cue task. Picture cue is a picture symbol or sign that very simple to learn for the student. Using picture code is also to help them easily to express their idea. A picture code stimulus which demands a description from the test taker or the teacher. It is one of the more popular approaches to elicit oral language performance. Next slide, Paras. And the last one is translation. Translation is a meaningful communicative device in context where the English user is called on to be an interpreter. Translation is a well-proven communication strategy for learners of a second language. The test taker is given a native language word, phrase, or sentence and asked to translate it. The condition may vary from an instant translation of an orally elected linguistic target to allow more thinking time before producing a translation of somewhat longer text, which may optionally be offered to the test taker in written form. Next slide, please. And next is responsive brief interaction with an interlocutor, differing from intense tasks in that the test taker is given more creative freedom and interactive tasks in that the duration of utterance is limited. You can see in your screen and can read by yourself the example of question and answer and giving instruction and direction. The first one is question and answer. Question and answer activities can be as simple as one or two questions from the interviewer, or they might make up a significant percentage of an oral interview's battery of question and prompt. They can range in a complexity from a simple to complicated. The second one is giving instruction and direction. It is a stimulus allows the test taker to participate in a reasonably long stretch of discourse, be very precise and specific, and employ proper discourse marker and connection. The method is straightforward. The administrator offer a question, and the test taker respond. The primary criteria for scoring is comprehensibility, followed by other grammatical or linguistic criteria. Next slide, please. In this slide, we also provide the example of paraphrasing and test of spoken English. The third one is paraphrasing. In our academic life, we are commonly use paraphrasing. Paraphrasing requires the test taker to read or hear a restricted number of sentences and produce a paraphrase of each sentence. And the fourth is test of spoken English. The Test of Spoken English or TSE is a 20-minute audio tape oral language ability test that can be used in an academic or professional setting. The TSE activities are designed to elicit oral production in a variety of discourse categories. Some TSE content, some TSE content specification represent the discourse and pragmatic context assessed, such as describing something physical, narrating from presented material, summarizing information of the speaker's choice, and so on. Uh, Next slide. And the next is interactive speaking. Some speaking settings are partially interactive, such as when giving a speech in front of a live audience where the listener is expected to refrain from interrupting the speaker. Despite this, the speaker can see the audience and determine whether or not he or she is being understood based on their facial expression and body language. The first one is interview. Interview is when a test administrator and the test taker sit down in a direct face-to-face exchange and proceed through a protocol of question and directives. Interview can vary in length from perhaps 5 to 45 minutes, depending on their purpose and context. There are four stages of interview. They are warm up, level check, probe, and wind down. You can see in your side the example of interview. Warm up is the introduction, and there is no scoring in this stage. And then level check. In this stage, the interviewer stimulates the test taker to respond using unexpected or predicted form and function. And the next is probe. Probe question and prompt challenge test taker to go to the height of their ability to extend beyond the limits of the interviewer's expectation through increasingly difficult question. And the last one is wind down. In this stage, the interviewer encouraged the test taker to relax with some easy question and also there is no scoring in this stage. And the second one is role play. Roleplay is a popular pedagogical activity in communicative language teaching classes within constraints set forth by the guidelines. The student free to be somewhat creative in their linguistic output. And the third is discussion and conversation. As a formal assessment device, discussion and conversation with and among students are difficult to assess learner. They offer a level of authenticity and spontaneity than other assessment techniques may not provide. Uh, Next slide, please. You can see in your screen the example of games and oral proficiency interview. The, bir- uh, the board is game. Game is a type of informal speaking assessment technology that puts students in a relaxed and fun environment during tests. The first example is Tinker Toy. A Tinker Toy structure is built behind a screen. One or two learners are allowed to view the structure. In successive stage of construction, the learners tell runners how to create the structure, and the runners then tell builders behind another screen how to build structure. And the second is crossword puzzle. Crossword puzzle are created in which the names of all members of a class are clued by obscure information about them. Each class member must ask questions of others to determine who matches the clues in the puzzle. The third one is information gap grids. Information gap grids are created such that class member must conduct mini interview of other classmates to fill in boxes. And the last, city maps. City maps are distributed to class member. Predetermined map direction are given to one student who with a city map in front of him or her describe the route to a partner who must then trace the route and get to correct final destination. And next is oral proficiency interview. Specification for the oral proficiency interview or OPI approximate those delineated above under the discussion of oral interview in general. In a series of structured tasks, the OPI is carefully designed to elicit pronunciation, fluency, and integrative ability, sociolinguistic, sociolinguistic and cultural knowledge, grammar, and vocabulary. The next slide, please. And the last one is extensive speaking. Speeches, oral representation, and narrative telling are examples of extensive oral production activities in which the opportunity for oral involvement from listener is either severely constrained or completely eliminated. The first one is oral presentation. In our academic life, we are commonly asked to give an oral presentation to deliver a report, a paper, a method, or and so on. Oral presentation allows students to put what they have learned in English class into practice by condensing everything into a single, powerful, and succinct presentation. And the second is picture-cute storytelling. Picture-cute storytelling is one of the most used ways for prompting speech production. The objective of using picture-cute narrative telling is to show students how to use chronology in discussion. It is often used to represent condition. The third one is retelling story. This is a task in which test participants are required to repeat a story or a news event that they have heard or read. Students retell a story they heard in this type of lengthy speaking exam. And the last one is translation. Translation of word, phrases, or short sentence was mentioned under the category of intensive speaking. The longer texts are presented for the test takers to read in the native language and translate into English. The next slide, please. For the conclusion will be delivered by Vezrava.
I'm sorry, the conclusion is delivered by me.
Oh, okay, Faras.
Okay, the conclusion is it is important to do a speaking ability assessment in every speaking activity to determine someone's speaking competence, especially for students. This assessment is used to track the progression of person's ability, especially in the speaking skills. A student's level of competence can be determined through assessment such as imitative, intensive, responsive, interactive, and extensive are the five primary types of speech. In the previous presentation, micro talents related to the production of tiny language chunks such as phonemes, morphemes, words, collocation, and phrasal units. The macro skills suggest that the speaker concentrates on the bigger picture, such as fluency, discourses, function, style, cohesiveness, nonverbal communication, and strategic possibilities. I mean, okay, maybe that's all our presentation in this section. Thank you very much for the attention. We are very sorry if there is any mistake in our presentation. If you have any question, please comment below or comment on the presentation next. Thank you.